Angel fans, our favorite owner spoke with Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register on Wednesday, and he spoke about whether or not he's going to sell the team. He talked about Shohei Ohtani. He talked about the stadium and how the Halos are going to spend or not spend money this season. John and I got our thoughts together. We're going to try to be non-emotional. That's really difficult. We're going to try to be reasonable. That's not so difficult. We've got all of our thoughts coming right up. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more with FanDuel. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, I'm feeling under the weather. I don't know how you got me sick. I know
It wasn't me.
Coworkers always get you sick. And
we're never in the same room.
So if you see me abandon ship here on the video, it's probably because I'm sneezing.
Yes.
But just know that I'm still here with you. Hey, we appreciate you being here. It's our third season at Locked On Angels, and we're covering the team 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, having the conversations you want to have as Angels fans. And of course, we have to talk about it. Angels owner Arte Moreno gave some rare comments to the media, spoke to the SoCal News Group, OC Register, Jeff Fletcher, frequent someone that we always bring up here on the show because he does a great job covering the team. But he did get to talk with Arte Moreno, which was very rare. And he basically answered a lot of the questions that we've been wondering about. Is he going to sell? What in the world happened with Shohei Ohtani? And Arte gave us some insight into the future or lack thereof when it comes to the Angels. So, Mike, let's start with that quote that has rung out across the Angel sphere. I am here for the long term.
Yeah, that's what he said to Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register. I'm here for the long term. He also said that there are some people that came back and some people that knew I had it on the market in 2022. I basically said it's not on the market. He also said that someone could come along and give him an offer, make him an offer that he couldn't refuse. Sounds like The Godfather, right? And he said, I'm a business person. If someone gets really stupid, then you have to go, I might consider that. Now, remember, Moreno said a year ago that he turned down offers, including 3 that surpassed the $2.4 billion that Steve Cohen paid for with the New York Mets. One of those offers was reportedly more than $3 billion. That feels like stupid money, and that feels like he should have said yes. So curious as to why he turned it down. And then our buddy, not just Jeff Fletcher, but Sam Blum, he tweeted that The Athletic requested an interview with Arte, and Arte said, I'm not talking to you. And so then Sam kind of threw out the question, hey, you planning on selling the team? And Arte just said, no. So lots to tease out.
There's your interview right there.
Right. That's it. Hey, good job, Sam. So first question, Johnny, what do you make of Arte's I'm here for the long term?
It just doesn't make any sense to me, Mike, because after everything that's happened over the last year, putting this team up for sale, taking it off the market, losing Shohei Ohtani, and we'll certainly get into that a little bit later, but it just doesn't inspire any hope. And my frustration is I feel like the Angels, in terms of where they are talent-wise, are somewhere they haven't been in a very long time, with like a young core of guys who can come up and do really well in the majors. Maybe it's going to take a few years for them to really hit their stride, but it's just unfortunate because we know that they're going to have to be the ones to be counted on, and they aren't going to get the support that they need. I look at a team like the Orioles, and they have a great young core of players who outperformed what everyone expected them to do last season, and they added pieces. They go and make the trade for Corbin Burns. And you look at the Diamondbacks, who got to the World Series, another young team, and they went out and added pieces that they needed this offseason. And I just feel like the Angels are really lacking somebody who's going to do that for them.
Yeah, and I think I think it's really important to address that the comment of, hey, be careful what you wish for, because we've seen a lot of Angel fans, as we talk about Arte, as others talk about Arte, we've seen a lot of Angel fans who have said, yeah, be careful what you wish for, because we could get somebody that's worse than Arte. And I get that. I understand that. But the reality is that Artie's pretty bad.
We're circling the drain on how bad it could possibly get, right?
And I think that the conversation we're having is, let's figure out an owner who is more of a fan of this team rather than a businessman. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the second segment. But honestly, John, like there has to be somebody out there that can take this team and make some good moves. And I don't think that we're necessarily, if we lose Arte, we're going to gain somebody that's worse. I think we could get somebody that's going to go, let's see what I can do with this team. I mean, even with the Orioles, they had the sale of the ownership, and then they have this new group come in, which includes Cal Ripken Jr., by the way, which is phenomenal. And then they immediately made that move for Corbin Burns. And so I think that comment, although yes, we need to be cautious, that comment is really like, so we're just gonna stick and stay. We're just going to sit in this. We're just going to put up with this.
Right.
And that's the thing that Angel fans, especially everydayers, are really frustrated with, because we've been putting up with this for 10 years. And you and I are positive. We're positive Angel fans, but it makes it really difficult to be positive about this team in particular, because when they start to move up and to the right, and this roster looks young and ready and hungry and all of those things, there is going to be that looming giant cloud that is Arte Moreno. That are we going to do the things that we need to do? Are we going to set them up to win? Are we going to be able to make the moves that we need to make? And the past 10 years have indicated that we're not. We're going to make moves that don't necessarily benefit this team. We're going to make moves that make it look like we're doing things that benefit this team. And that's where it's really frustrating, and why we call for a potential new owner.
Yeah. And here's my thing, Mike. I don't understand how he could refuse a $3 billion offer. And that's the crazy offer that he's looking for, right? Like it does it have to be more than $3 billion to be the, crazy offer that finally makes him go, oh, you know what? I think I will sell. Cause that's not going to happen now. Like, you lost your most valuable asset in Shohei Ohtani. You lost all the potential revenue that comes along with that. And it's frustrating because in my mind, I think Arte believes that the team has to be good before he sells the team.
Okay.
And I think he thinks that because it's going to increase the value of the Angels. And yeah, like, you have a good core of young players with bright futures ahead of them. But so I guess what I'm saying is, we need this team to be good so that Arte Moreno thinks that the team is good, so that he can finally sell, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't even know if he's ever going to sell. I just don't understand what's holding him back from doing that.
Johnny, I would push back on that comment, just in the sense that I think that he could still get a reported $3 billion. And here's why. You get somebody like, and it was rumored that Mark Cuban was interested. I know it was just a rumor, nothing substantiated, but you're going to get somebody like a Mark Cuban, or you get somebody who is an entrepreneur in the business world. They're going to come in, John, and they're going to see a team that is in the middle of Orange County, where there's a lot of resource. It's a growing area. They can work with the city on perhaps making this stadium even more functional and viable. There's a lot of potential. And here's the thing that I think we forget. And I know that Angel fans get crapped on for this pretty constantly, but we're fans through and through.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to show up. We may not show up in 3 million a year but we're going to show up in at least like 2.4 million, right? Like, we're going to show up, and we're going to support this team, and we're going to cheer these guys on. And there are going to be times where we may not understand the dynamics of what's happening in the game, because we are, most of us, in Orange County, right? And so I get that there are some criticisms for fans, but one of the things that you can't criticize is that these Angel fans, you and I included, and our everydayers included, have been there from the beginning, and we're not jumping ship, even though we threatened to jump ship. I can't turn it off. You can't turn it off. And that's the thing that I think somebody outside of this organization will see. Like, I'm going to immediately get 2.5 million fans, whether I win or whether I lose.
Right.
And to me, that's a lot of potential.
Let me address that real fast too, because I see a lot of calls for boycotting the Angels, boycotting Arte. I'm not going to give them another dime.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. Like, if that's what you want to do, I totally get that. One thing that you and I will never do is tell other people how to, quote, fan
Yeah.
and be fans, but you have to recognize something. And we'll get into this a little bit later in more detail, but Artie didn't do what's best for the team by trading Shohei Ohtani. And yeah, you know what? There is a world where you go for it with him on your team and you do the things that they all did last year. Of course, it fell apart because none of the guys that they traded for performed. Tons of people got hurt, right? So it was a risk in these fans' hearts, you and me, worth taking. However, rather than trading and setting up the future of the team, they collected the Ohtani revenue.
Yep.
And then they didn't pay to bring him back. And that's all well and good too. But where'd that revenue go, Mike?
Yeah.
And now Artie,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about it in a second, he's going to lower the payroll this year. So here's my thing, guys. Whether you give him money or not, Artie is going to adjust the payroll to, well, they don't want to give me money when we're up here. I'm going to bring it down here. And, oh, they don't want to give me money here. Well, I'm going to bring it down here. So there's no winning. There's no winning in that. Like you say, you want to hit him where his dollar is and where the money in his pocket. But look what happened with the A's. They stopped going because of John Fisher. And he's like, well, all right, we'll go to Vegas. And it's like, no, the passionate fan base is there. But the thing is that the product on the field is terrible. They don't want to pay to see that. So it's just frustrating all around. So however you want to handle this decision, I think it's fine whether you don't want to give any more money to the Angels. I mean, somebody online said, well, the uniforms haven't changed in 20 years, so you probably have all the merch you would ever buy anyways. My Trout jersey from 12 years ago is just as relevant today as it was then. So I guess what I mean to say is whether you want to boycott or not, that's totally up to you.
Yeah.
But it makes it really hard when there are guys like Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto and Nolan Shawno, guys I want to cheer for. I want to see Mike Trout because that's a Hall of Fame player that I can say that I witnessed. Same thing with Shohei Ohtani. I got to witness the greatness of Shohei Ohtani on my favorite team, and it just makes this whole thing very frustrating, right?
Yeah, and I really appreciate the everydayers that have commented the last few days that have been around the Angels really since the 60s and 70s. And so it's neat to hear from them and their perspective. And quite honestly, the 90s Angels were really difficult to root for. Yeah. And it was maybe it was 94, 95, 96, where they started kind of on the uptick, but then they went back down again until Sosha got here. And even in 2000 and 2001, they weren't fantastic. And so this might be one of those seasons where we're not so great. And they had to rebuild. And I think what Perry has done is he's rebuilt this team right under our nose. And again, I have a point I want to make about Perry later on in the show and about Artie. But I think initially what I would love to say is this guy seems to know what he's doing in the confines that Artie has set up for him.
Hey, we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. Coming up, we got more on Arte Moreno's comments, including Shohei Ohtani, what happened there. And then a comment, Mike, that really just doesn't sit well with us and probably won't sit well with Angel fans either. We're going to talk about all of that coming right up.
Johnny, remember last year when I spilled on my laptop and I had to miss a show because I spilled on my laptop? And,
I
ruined it? I called John up and went, I can't do the show. Just spilled.
I said, put it in rice.
Yes.
That didn't work.
It was awful. So it's always my greatest worry, like making sure that everything that I have on my laptop, I have. And I had to really worry about getting the files off of my old laptop onto this one. And I appreciate the people who commented and said, Mike, you got to do this and you got to do that. I know that I just never did, which is why I love our new sponsor of Locked On Angels. They would have made that whole process of getting files off of one computer to the next really easy. They're called Backblaze, and Backblaze is an unlimited cloud backup for Macs, PCs, and businesses for just $99 a year. With Backblaze, you can easily protect all of the data on your machines automatically. I needed all of this last year, right? Backblaze also offers multiple restore options, including rapid recovery in the event that your data is lost, so you have ransomware or you spill. You can access your backed up data from anywhere in the world using their web app, iOS or Android apps. Backblaze even offers the option of a hard drive restore. You can send in the hard drive and then they're going to get it back to you within 30 days. How about that? Backblaze has restored over 55 billion with a B files for customers. There's a lot of people who spill out there, John. How about that? Backblaze.com/LockedOnMLB is where you want to go, and use that website, backblaze.com/LockedOnMLB, so they know that you came from Locked On Angels, and they'll continue to support the show. We appreciate that. They are recommended by the New York Times, Macworld, PC World, LifeWire, Wired, Tom's Guide, 9 to 5 Mac, and more. Receive a fully featured, no-risk free trial at backblaze.com/LockedOnMLB. Go there. You can mess with it, play with it, start protecting yourself from potential bad times and spills like Mike from Locked On Angels. That's backblaze.com/LockedOnMLB.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Hey, everydayers, don't forget to join Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, the world's first 24/7 national sports streaming channel. Head on over there to get all the top stories of the day across the sports world, from the local experts of Locked On to the national shows. They're covering all the stories you want to hear about. So head on over to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and hit subscribe to the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel.
Hey, shout out to Jeff Fletcher for being able to talk with Arte Moreno and get some good answers. Really appreciate the hard work for Jeff. I know it's been difficult for writers across the board, sports writers especially. So I'm glad that Jeff is still doing some great work. He asked Arte Moreno about the circumstances surrounding some guy named Shohei Ohtani. And Artie's answers gave us the exact insight we suspected all along on how Artie views baseball.
You're right.
So Ohtani signed a heavily deferred 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers over the winter. We all know about that. It ended his 6-year run with the Angels. When asked if the Angels were willing to meet that price, Artie said no.
Nah.
Now, he said, not going to do that. Now, Artie would not say whether he believed the Angels had a chance to keep Ohtani at the various points when they made the decision not to trade him. The Angels obviously could have traded Ohtani in 2022, and they could have traded him last year in 2023. Artie said this: from a fan's perspective, they pay for tickets and watch the games and listen to the games. This is a special guy. Kind of nice that he called him special and not one of the top 10.
Right.
So he also said, I'd like to see him play. We're in the entertainment business. We made a decision, a group decision, that the best thing was to keep him and to make a run. That was what he was quoted as saying. So, Johnny, we've heard from a number of Angels, including Trout, Rendon, Sandoval, Detmers. They all said that they knew that Ohtani was going to leave.
Right.
Artie seems to not have a clear answer here. So what do you think was going on in his mind?
Oh, I think it's exactly what he said, Mike. He wanted to figure out what was going to yield him the most return on Shohei Ohtani. And that was to keep him around and try to make a run for it. And again, you and I were pretty hyped on making a run for it. You have Shohei Ohtani on your team.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to do so. The Angels were not that far out of a wild card. I think they were 3 games behind the Yankees at the time, who they just swept. And so all that to say, I don't think that part of it was wrong. But what I do think is wrong is, again, the lack of foresight and vision and not being able to see past your hand in front of you that Arte Moreno and the front office have had for the last 12, 15 years. And that's, they don't think about investing in this team the way that others would. And the answer is right there, Mike. It's the entertainment business for Arte and company, because they are putting on a show and they want the biggest stars. They want the brightest lights. And Shohei Ohtani obviously drew people to the stadium, but it's not about baseball. It's not about a winning team or building a winning culture. It's not about investing in the minor leagues, because nobody sees that.
Yeah.
And even though it would make the team better, well, I'm not going to spend money on the minor leagues and give them proper housing and because who cares about that? Nobody pays big tickets for that, right? Am I right? Like, that's the issue here with the entertainment business.
Yeah. So a couple thoughts here. First of all, his answers tell me something that I've suspected for a really long time, that Artie is in reactionary mode. Like here's the example. Oh, we're 3 out. Let's do something about it.
Yes. Oh,
right.
100%.
And that's how he moves. Think of it like this. Artie is working in the office, right? And so it's Artie, hey, sign this contract because we're making this deal with Toyota. Hey, Artie, can we move this product into this particular area? We'll make this much money. Oh, hey, by the way, Artie, we're 3 games out. Can we go make some trades? And so it feels like it's all a part of the same conversation. It's not thoughtful. It's not intentional. And to me, it feels like he's got a whole lot of control, maybe even way too much control. I love this quote from Steve Jobs. He once said that I hire you for your opinion. So I'm not going to try and convince you of mine because that's not why you're here.
Ooh,
So
I like that.
I have an idea, you have an idea, and it's not my job to convince you of my idea and tell you and sell you on why it's great. I hired you because you're brilliant, and that's why I brought you in. And this is a great indication that Artie is the puppet master and he is in control, and that the baseball people around him are not able to make fully functional, intentional, thoughtful baseball decisions. It's why Artie let Shohei go, because people say, oh, I thought he was a businessman. Wouldn't he sign this guy and advertise? And you're right. But what you're saying there is Artie is a businessman and a baseball guy. Artie's a businessman.
Yeah.
And Artie made money off of Shohei. I mean, he paid Shohei what? Let's say he paid Shohei $40 million over the course of his entire 6-year career with the Angels, right? 30 million last year and maybe about $1 million or so, or 10 million or so. That's probably shooting high, right?
Yeah.
He made probably double that at least.
Oh, at least.
With Ohtani on this team. That's great business.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Artie made a decision. I only had to pay this guy chump change and I've made so much money off of him. Now I'm going to let him go and we're going to figure out the next thing.
Right.
He's not thinking in baseball terms of, oh, you know what I could do? I could do what the Dodgers are doing. I'm sure the Dodgers have already paid off that contract just in suites in LA.
Right.
So what my point is that Artie's got a lot of control and he's not letting baseball people do baseball things, or at least baseball people do baseball things in the context that he has set up. It is one of the reasons why I'm glad Perry's there, because I think Perry has proven in the context, the playground that Artie has set up, that he's able to wheel and deal and at least get us some young players and at least get us some players that can help us to be competitive at some level.
And here's the difference here, Mike, in terms of being a businessman versus a baseball guy. Moreno was talking about spending, and he said the plan is to set the budget lower. I'm not going to spend money just to show that we're going to spend money unless it's going to substantially change the team. And he's really excited about the young guys on the team, but he says, I'm in it because I believe we can build a team to win. And here's my issue. Spending just to spend money is what he's been doing for 12 years.
Yeah.
He's not spending on the people who substantially changed this team. He's gone out and got the big time players, because you had Mark Trumbo, but you went and got Albert Pujols,
right?
Because you had a TV deal on the line. And so to substantially change this team, you're right. You did substantially change this team with Albert Pujols, because that thing, the first couple of years were fine. And then after that, it was a big anchor on us.
Yep.
But here's my problem, Mike. With all the money that they collected from Shohei Ohtani, the payroll's going down.
Yeah.
Because what did we just get fat and giggly off the checks that were cashing off of Shohei Ohtani's name?
They
because
absolutely did.
That's exactly what's happened here. Because if you don't reinvest that into the team in terms of minor league development or technology or hiring coaches, then you're just collecting paychecks. And that's exactly what they're doing. And I think, honestly, I think that they are, when he says I'm here for the long term, I think he's just trying to wring out this sponge for as much money as he can. And again, I think that he's going to try to do that this season. And he's going to be in for a rude awakening when all the people that Shohei Ohtani brought in stop showing up. And yeah, there will be loyal fans like you and me who will go to games and whatnot. But I think he's in for a rude awakening this season. And so hopefully that will inspire some sort of change in the upcoming season.
Hey, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can get a W with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now. New customers like you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and NBA scorers and NBA teams. Bet on what the score might be, who's going to score the most, who has the most assists. It's a whole lot assists, and it's a whole lot of fun on FanDuel. Quick bets, same game parlays, exclusive props. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Logix Credit Union, the best lineup in the Los Angeles area right now. It's the lineup of auto loans at Logix. They start off at the top with our favorite, the proven and dependable new and used vehicle loans. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. And rounding out their lineup, they've got their auto refinancing loans and lease buyout loans. With these guys, you could get lower monthly payments faster and get on the road to owning your car faster. Seriously, nobody is going to beat the lineup at Logix. So visit your local Logix branch right here in the LA area and let one of their amazing team members help you, or just apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com/car. That's LOGIX banking.com/car.
Already addressed the failed attempts to reach a development deal with the city of Anaheim and regarding Angel Stadium. In 2022, the Angels had a plan to purchase the ballpark from the city in exchange for the right to develop the surrounding area. That agreement fell through when the Anaheim mayor became caught up in this corruption scandal. And so now Moreno has said that there's no current talks about reviving that deal, with no expectation that it would be revisited. He said right now, no, in response to that question. He goes, I don't like the word never. Right now, I don't believe that Anaheim officials have an appetite for it. Now, shortly after that, John, the new Anaheim mayor had a response. Why don't you read that response to us?
Yeah, Jeff Fletcher reports Anaheim Mayor Ashley Aitken said in response to Moreno's comments that the city is willing to discuss a new stadium deal. We're open to looking at the future of baseball and welcome a fresh start in crafting a proposal that is good for Anaheim and our residents. I'm all ears, she said. We know what works and we've seen what didn't. We welcome a fair proposal. As a city, we're committed to building on decades of baseball in Anaheim for generations to come. Mike, the current lease runs through 2029. And then after that, they have 3 different 3-year options. So essentially, when it runs out in 2029, you've got 30, 31, 32, then a new option at 33, so on and so forth. Jeff Fletcher asked Arte Moreno if he could forecast what will happen. Then Moreno said, do you know where you're going to be in 2038? Do you know how old I am? This year, I'll be 78. That's a long time. Oh, I think he's saying what's on everybody's mind, but we're just not going to say it out loud here, Michael. Yeah.
You know, I don't understand the vitriol, like let's set ourselves up to be I don't understand that type of leadership model. It feels like the A's are doing that, and it feels like Artie's kind of taking a page out of that. Like, why in the world would you want to like throw the city under the bus? I know he's probably frustrated because he didn't get his deal and that his buddy got in trouble. And I get all of that. Doesn't make it right, but I don't understand why it's got to be. Is the word cantankerous, John? Is that a word? I don't understand why that seems to be why the posture he's choosing. It just doesn't seem to be helpful at all. And it's not smart for somebody who doesn't talk to the media and really tries to be very, clinical in how he goes about things and strategic in how he goes about things in his world. Like, it's so stupid that he would say something like that. And then the Anaheim mayor comes back out and goes, hey, we're ready to talk. Yeah. What is he talking about? Right. It just looks foolish. It looks dumb. And it makes Angel fans go, and this is the guy that's leading our favorite team. Come on.
Well, and there's reports out there too, that John Carpino and Ashley Aitken had a meeting that was off of her schedule. And it opened up this whole conversation with the Anaheim City Council. I think they even voted for it. It's like a transparency act where they like post government officials and city officials stuff online, like their schedules and everything. So that was a whole other controversy. I want to say that was probably like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So it just tells me like, so you haven't been in contact, or are you secretly in contact? Like, I don't understand any of that. Mike, they also addressed the spring training facilities. According to Jeff's article, they're proceeding with plans to make upgrades to their spring training home in Tempe. Moreno said the practice fields and training facilities will undergo renovations starting at the end of this spring. Improvements to Tempe Diablo Stadium could begin next year and be completed in time for spring training 2026. But by the way, they've been saying this since the end of spring training 2022, and it still hasn't happened. So, Mike, we've gone over Artie saying that he's not going to sell the team. He's going to be here long term. We talked about how he handled Shohei Ohtani and the reasons why, and then just this whole stadium nonsense. What do we take away from all of this? What's your takeaway from all of this?
John, that great poet, that great philosopher, Stone Cold Steve Austin, once said, DTA, don't trust anybody, right? And that's what I got away from this. It just feels like I'm getting a bunch of hot air from Arte Moreno,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to these stadium deals, and he wants to do things behind the scenes, and he wants to look like the hero. Honestly, John, I think that the narrative around Arte is growing to the point where it's not just Angel fans that are noticing this stuff. It's non-Angel fans. It's baseball fans that
Yeah.
are noticing this stuff. And so in one context, that could be good, that people around the world and around the country are going to go, oh yeah, that guy's not great. Like he's not smart. Like he's not doing a good work for them. And so that could be one benefit from this. I think the other benefit from this is that, and I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier, I think Perry's the guy to operate under this ridiculous system. And he seems to be able to handle what Arte has thrown at him. Unfortunately, this is his last year. And it might be one of those situations where Perry is offered an extension and he doesn't take it, right? And so that would even be awful, because then we're having to go through another GM change. But there's a lot of what ifs that are just around the bend with a lot of people on this team and with the stadium deal and all of that stuff. And it just doesn't sound like Arte is got a plan. No wonder the team has felt the way that it's felt, and no wonder the management on the field has felt the way that it's felt, because there hasn't been a philosophy or a strategy. This year feels like the first time, at least on the field, that there's some sort of strategy and some sort of philosophy, but they're just following the lead of their leader. And so I can't necessarily blame them for the chaos that it's been over the last few years.
Yeah. For me, Mike, I am with you on the fact that narrative of Arte Moreno is finally seeping out beyond Angel fandom, because there was an Orioles fan who retweeted our note about Arte Moreno and said, I just want Angel fans to have the same joy that we have had, which is because the Orioles owner sold, and so they're thrilled. Yeah. And like you said, they went out and got Corbin Burns. And here's my thing. And I know everybody's going to talk about Mike Trout and how he needs to request a trade and whatnot. And we've talked about this before, and I've actually got an article that I'll be publishing soon, but we need to stop talking about Trout's got to get out. MLB media and people who report on baseball need to stop saying, well, Trout's got to get out of there. No, we need to continue to put pressure on Arte Moreno to sell this team, because then you end up in situations where you have Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout not making the playoffs and giving 6 years of their career to a team that didn't go anywhere. And Trout's much beyond that, except for one playoff run that was 3 games and they got swept. And that's going to continue to happen with the players that you like to watch and like to see and like to hear if Arte Moreno doesn't leave. And that's the frustrating part about this whole thing, is the narrative is, oh, get those guys off that team. No, get the owner away from this team and keep putting the pressure on him and keep calling out the nonsense that keeps happening around this team. And I'm surprised with the more controversial stuff that's happened beyond just on-field stuff with this team, that nothing's been done there either. And at the end of the day, Mike, we have 2029 to look forward to, because that's when the stadium deal runs out, and that's when Rob Manfred's gone. So maybe another commission will come in and get rid of Arte Moreno for us. How about that?
I would love to have Gene Autry back. Bring that singing cowboy back as the Angels owner. How about that? Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And remember, Everydayers, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you. So hit subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button while you're there and get in the comments, because that's the best way to get into the conversation with us. We always try to respond to every comment, and so we hope that you'll join us there. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
The Halos have invited over 20 players to be at spring training. They're non-roster invitees, and so we're going to talk through who they are they any good, who you should keep an eye on, and some of the guys that we're keeping an eye on. And we'll talk about all of that on Monday on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that. We hope you guys have a great weekend. Don't let this Arte stuff get you down, because at least there are lots of young players to cheer for and be excited about this season. And we'll be talking about this with you all through the day. So take care. Have a great weekend. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody. And we'll see you back here on Monday.